Now it is time for the naturally inspired moment. Today we're talking about 5 ways to detect you're dealing with a narcissist. Why? Why am I bringing this up? As I talk about all the time here, our emotions drive a lot of our health. Our thoughts drive our health, but our thoughts trigger our emotions. And then our emotions inevitably impact our physical body. And that cannot be underestimated. We are synergistic beings, right? So the way we feel on a daily basis, it impacts our physical health. And one of the things that we have an epidemic of in this country is narcissism. And it is our culture, I believe, because of social media, because of this, we have our priorities out of whack. Last night I was on the Red Pill Project and Josh and I were talking about this, how out of whack priorities have become, where we put like money and, recognition and attention above health. And in our brain, it doesn't make sense, right? Because you can't have money and recognition and fame or whatever when you're dead, right? It doesn't make any sense. But somehow our culture has really gotten twisted up and we feed these things. Like we idolize money. I was just talking to my son this morning about this, about his age group. And he was telling me people his age have no problem asking him how much money he makes. What? How much money do you make doing that? Oh, well, do you make any money doing that? Excuse me? I'm like, wow, if somebody asked me that, I would be like, that is none of your business. He was like, oh yeah, they ask all the time. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. And it is because we idolize people who make money. You don't even have to be a good person. It's like, oh, they're doing horrific things on OnlyFans, but hey, they make a lot of money. No, hey, gross. So that's what's feeding this epidemic of narcissism. So 5 ways to detect you're dealing with a narcissist. So important to be able to spot it. So number 1, conversations always circle back to them. So no matter the topic, they have this uncanny ability to redirect the spotlight on them. So your wins, your struggles, or needs often get minimized or overshadowed by their own story. So say things like, well, you think that's bad. Look at what happened to me. And they'll completely hijack the conversation. That's narcissism. 2, they lack genuine empathy. So you notice a pattern of indifference or dismissiveness towards your feelings. Instead of comfort, they may offer criticism, judgment, or cold silence when you are vulnerable. So I want you to think about this too. It's something I learned the other day, is that, there's it's a growing population, but it's small population of people that are psychopaths. And, we wear a lot of our beliefs on our face, and a lot of our emotions right on our face. And especially as we get older, we start getting lines. That's a life well lived, when you have lines on your face. But there are certain lines that, reveal how you've spent a lot of time in your life. If you have, crow's feet, that could mean, that you spent a lot of your life laughing. Whereas if you have, a brow, lines in your brow right here, you may have spent a lot of your life frustrated or angry. But one of the things is if you have lines on your forehead, when you see my eyebrows, when you have lines like that, when you express your forehead right away, that means you're a social person. That means you're a social person and that you have empathy for other people. Because when someone tells you something, you lift your eyebrows like, oh, really? Well, what was that like? And if you have done that a lot over your life, then it shows up on your forehead that you're a social, empathetic person. And so you can look at that now when you meet someone. Like, oh, if their forehead is smooth and you don't see any lines, well, maybe they got Botox, but it could mean too that they're not very empathetic. Okay, so something to consider. Number 3, they manipulate through guilt or gaslighting. So they twist events to make you question your own memory or your perception of things or even your sanity. This was being used heavily during COVID, right? People were, these so-called experts were going on TV and they were just spewing garbage, right? A lot of these media people just spewing garbage and, the disease stops with you or whatever. They had no idea. I mean, the product website, you just go straight to the product website and never said a stop transmission. But they had no problem doing that because they're narcissists. If you constantly feel the need to defend yourself, this also may be a red flag, right? Because they are manipulating through guilt or gaslighting. And it's almost like they have a way of making you to blame all the time, right? It's just like a talent for turning it around. Number 4, they crave constant admiration. So validation is their oxygen. They demand praise, acknowledgement, or recognition, and they may punish you emotionally if you don't deliver. Even telling you things like, well, I did this and you didn't even say anything. They really need that recognition all the time. Whereas most people, the payoff in doing nice things for other people is feeling good about yourself for, being able to help them and feeling gratitude that you were able to help them. But these people, these narcissistic type personalities, they need the recognition. They need to be noticed for everything they do. Number 5, your boundaries are ignored and violated. So your no rarely holds. They may push past your limits, disrespect your time, or use subtle control tactics to keep you under their influence. So once you have set a boundary, this is, happened to me before in relationships, I'm not one that likes to share a lot of intimate details. That's just my personality. I just never, it embarrasses me. I'm like, but some women I've met over the years, they love to talk like that. And I don't. And so I usually let them oh, save those stories for your other friend. Tell me you're talking to the wrong person. I don't want to hear about it. What I mean? I'll just tell them that. And some people ignore it and they continue to push on with it. And that's where I have to draw the line. It's like, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't do that. That's just, I don't know. I just don't like it. So, but I've had people in the past that just think it's funny and they keep going with it. And finally, you just have to say, I don't think this is a good fit. You have to do that. You are completely within your rights to construct boundaries with people. There's nothing wrong with that. A narcissist pattern is consistent. It's self-centered. It's lack of empathy. It's manipulation, and it's total disregard for your boundaries. They have no problem making you feel uncomfortable. And often it comes in the form of their problems, so that they can then say, well, these are my problems. Like, your problems make me uncomfortable. I've told you they make me uncomfortable, but they press on, and then they'll accuse you of not being empathetic or not being kind or not understanding, right? And that's a way to manipulate you outside of your boundaries. So recognizing these early signs helps protect your peace and your energy, which of course is so important, because when we are constantly being thrown in turmoil by our relationships with narcissists, we're in fight or flight. We're on edge. And guess what? You cannot heal when you're in fight or flight. Protect your peace in your relationships. 5 ways to detect you're dealing with a narcissist. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back for hour 2 of Naturally Inspired Radio.